Hello, thank you very much for watching our Safeguarding What You Need to Know video. My name is Theo and I am the Head of Operations for Jukes Plus Consultancy. I'm also the designated safeguarding lead across the 4 brands you can see at the top: A-List Education, Oxbridge Applications, the Medic Portal and the Lawyer Portal. In the next 20 minutes, we will cover the essentials: what is safeguarding and why should we care about safeguarding, 2, what to do if you have a concern or if you receive a disclosure, and 3, the guidelines that we recommend for tutoring, both in person and online. Before we jump into it, please take a note of the key contacts that you can see in front of you: theo.boyce@jukesplus.com. That's me. I am the Safeguarding Designated Lead or Designated Safeguarding Lead, DSL, for Jukes Plus Consultancy, which encompasses the Medic Portal, Oxbridge Applications, the Lawyer Portal, and A-List Education. There are also Deputy Safeguarding Leads who support me and to whom you can also report to, and all of the information for current email addresses and phone numbers for both my own contact details and the Deputy Safeguarding Leads can be found on our policies, which are available on each of the websites. Here you can see an example of where to find these policies. The top one is on the Medic Portal's website. You can see a little button Safeguarding at the bottom, and the bottom one is on Oxbridge Applications website. You can see a tab called Safeguarding and Child Protection. If you click through to either of those, you'll be able to download the full PDF copy of our safeguarding policy. So firstly, to the safeguarding essentials. What is safeguarding? Safeguarding is defined by the NSPCC as the action that is taken to promote the welfare of children and protect them from harm, i.e. this definition is active. It requires action, and it's not only about protection, but it's also about promotion of welfare. So that's the what, now to the why. Safeguarding is hugely important in education. It's highly enforced and regulated across schools and colleges and other similar institutions, in tuition agencies and in other types of educational support which may not be directly in an institution. Safeguarding is less regulated and less enforced, but it's becoming more so, and with good reason. Especially because the majority of work that we do is one-to-one between a tutor and a student, and without other supervision, so without being in a classroom, for example. Supporting the principles of safeguarding, therefore, act to protect students. They also act to protect tutors and educators. Similarly, they protect our reputation. They help to support our school partner requirements. As you may already know, at Jukes Education, across our consultancies, we support schools directly. So you may find yourself working inside of one of our partner schools or working with students at one of those partner schools during an online event. And as such, we need to retain the same kinds of high safeguarding standards as they do. And especially if you're interested in progressing with a career in education, having a really strong awareness of safeguarding can help to develop your professional skills. As you can see here, safeguarding also carries with it legal implications. There are many instances where there have been inappropriate contact between tutors and students or within an institution which have led to serious criminal offences and punishments. And it can also bring tuition companies and education companies into disrepute if safeguarding standards are to slip. So what do we have in place to support safeguarding? Well, we have an extensive policy. We have designated safeguarding leads and deputies, so I'm the lead, and we have 4 deputies. We have processes for reporting, including low-level concerns, such as on Tutor Cruncher. After each tuition session, you have the opportunity to report any concerns, or directly to emails of myself or any of our deputies, regular training, so all of our staff go through either level 2 or level 3 safeguarding training, support of the wider Duke's Education compliance team with hugely experienced and knowledgeable safeguarding experts to advise us. We have very rigorous safer recruitment onboarding processes for all of our staff, and we also ensure that all the tutors that work with us have an enhanced DBS check. And finally, we have audits and reviews of these processes and keep secure, clean records. Perhaps the most important piece of legislation is the Children Act of 1989, which was then updated in 2004. Where does the rest of this legislation come from around safeguarding? Well, various places. Keeping children safe in education is a key one of those, and that tends to be updated each year. Working together to safeguard children is another key piece of legislation, governmental advice from 2015 and 18, and also guidance for out-of-school settings, which was published in 2020 and updated in 22. We saw before that the definition of safeguarding encompasses both the promotion of welfare and the protection from harm. So it's a double-edged definition. What most people think about when they think of safeguarding, however, is abuse and neglect, how to spot the telltale signs when a student might have something going on and may be in need of some help. So if we look at the definition of abuse and neglect, somebody may abuse or neglect a child by inflicting harm or failing to act. It could be negligence. Abuse can take place wholly online, or technology may be used to facilitate offline abuse. Children may be abused by an adult or adults or another child or children. So it doesn't only need to be an adult to a child, it can also be a child to child to count as abuse or neglect. How do we define a child? A child is defined in Working Together to Safeguard Children 2018 as anyone who has not yet reached their 18th birthday. Is abuse always intentional? So does the intent to abuse or to harm need to be there in order for it to have happened? Legally, no. It can be the result of negligence or ignorance. Sometimes it can be the result of well-intentioned actions, but abuse is about the impact of the act on the individual, not the intent. There are lots of different signs to look out for when we look for signs of abuse. Here are some of the most common signs that the NSPCC recommend keeping an eye out for. Unexplained changes in behavior or personality, becoming withdrawn or seeming anxious, becoming uncharacteristically aggressive, a lack of social skills and few friends, if any, a poor bond or relationship with a parent, isolated or isolation, restrictive movements or access to personal resources, knowledge of adult issues inappropriate for their age, running away or going missing, always choosing to wear clothes that covers their body or a particular body part, unexplained injuries or inconsistent explanations, or you might also be noticing some concerning behavior from adults who have children in their care. Some of these are difficult to spot if you're a tutor with only a limited number of hours or limited contact time with a particular student. So some of these you'll be able to get a sense of even with limited contact time, but some you might begin to get a sense of after a few hours working with a student because you'll be able to more clearly see changes. Sometimes when working with students who are particularly financially privileged, tutors may make assumptions that abuse and neglect are much less likely to apply to them, or may not even be able to be applied to them. However, there are some certain types of abuse that are specifically related to those who are more financially privileged, such as affluent neglect. Looking at affluent neglect a little bit closer, in wealthier families, it can be the case that parents work long hours, leaving children in the care of paid nannies or au pairs, which can create a disconnect emotionally and leave children feeling lonely with their emotional needs unfulfilled by their parents. Affluent parents may also put a high amount of pressure on their children to succeed at school, which can sometimes lead to psychological and emotional problems for children. Now, especially where there is an element of ambition, where the student works very hard and they're aiming for really high results or a really ambitious university destination, there may be an element of pressure which can affect the child. Let's take a case study. So Janet is 17 years old. She's a day student in a good independent school in London. She wants to study mathematics at Oxford following her A-levels. Janet's mum is a single parent, and her 14-year-old sister and a 10-year-old brother. Her mum works full-time as a doctor in King's College London Hospital. She employs a housekeeper who also acts as a nanny for the two younger children. Janet studies hard and puts lots of pressure on herself to succeed. And today, when you were tutoring Janet, she told you that she's been feeling depressed. This sort of event, when a child explicitly tells you that they've not been feeling well or happy, or even if it's more subtle than that, would be a disclosure. So what do you do if a child discloses something to you? There are a few things to bear in mind. Firstly, stay calm and listen carefully to the child. Staying calm is important to allow them to keep talking and not to lead them in any particular direction or give them certain impressions of what they're saying. Secondly, do not promise confidentiality. It's not always possible to keep things confidential, particularly where there is serious harm at stake. Thirdly, reassure the child they're doing the right thing by speaking to an adult. So give them reassurance once they've told you, because it could cause some serious worry if they've disclosed something which they've been harboring. If you are concerned about the immediate well-being of the young person, please contact me, the designated safeguarding lead, or a member of the safeguarding team, or if we're outside of working hours and it's an emergency, then needless to say, phone 999. Record it. So you've asked the questions, you must record what was said. The rules around this are simply to allow the child to continue at their own pace, ask questions only for clarification. It is not your duty to investigate, and please be careful about leading the child's answers in any certain direction, either by the use of language or by emotional reaction or behavior. And thirdly, use as far as possible the child's own words in your written account, which should also include other details like the time and the date of the disclosure, the names of people present, if it's just you and the child, or it could be more than that, both adults and children. Who do you report this to? So you've written down as much as you can, only using the child's words. Don't discuss it with your other colleagues or other tutors, or other parents or other students. Please report this directly to one of the safeguarding team, so either myself, Theo, or one of the safeguarding deputy safeguarding leads. Details are in our policies, and if they're unreachable, contact a member of staff via the office number and ask for a private email. What do you do, however, if sometimes the situation is not so direct? If you have a nagging suspicion, these are called low-level concerns in lots of policies. Low-level concern is a concern, no matter how small, and even if there's no more than it's causing a sense of unease or nagging doubt. This could be regarding an adult working in or behalf of a company that may have acted inappropriately inside or outside of work, or it could be regarding the well-being of a young person. Sometimes it could just be a slight feeling of unease or the odd sign that they're acting slightly differently. That's just the tip of the iceberg of something that they're keeping well hidden. Well, I've mentioned low-level concerns and more serious concerns. So if someone is feeling depressed or even suicidal, then that's more of an immediate pressing concern, even in an emergency. If it's a low-level concern, maybe they're not quite acting the way they have been in the past, or they seem a little bit off, then there's a scale of proportionality. And so use reasonableness and proportionality in determining how to report these things. It should be roughly proportional to the perceived risk of the situation. For low-level concerns, please still report those. Feel welcome to email the DSL or DDSL, so Deputy Safeguarding Leads, or Designated Safeguarding Leads, or other key contacts at the company. If it is a low-level concern, then you can also use the reporting function via Tutor Cruncher if that's available to you. And this is what the Tutor Cruncher reporting box might look like. The golden rule is please report it, even if it's a small nagging doubt. Just let someone know. So in the final couple minutes, I'm going to go over a few guidelines for keeping safe. So the majority of what we do is one-to-one tuition. Most of the time this is online, but there might be the occasion where you have in-person meetings, potentially at someone's home, potentially in a school. Either way, if it's in person, please make sure that the sessions happen in a more public area of the building. So maybe a kitchen rather than, for example, a bedroom or a private study. If possible, make sure that it's an open door situation so you don't have a closed door where you're tutoring. And please, if you're in that situation, do not put yourself between the student and the door, but instead put them in the situation that if they wanted to leave, if they felt uncomfortable, then they could easily do so. Online you might be on camera. Please bear in mind what's in your surroundings and what's in your background. The safest thing to do is to have a neutral background. And if you like a particular background, for example, a branded background for professionalism, then we can provide that really easily for you, and also encourage the students to do the same. You don't want to be able to see personal items behind them on their screen. Similarly, if it's online, it's best not to conduct these sessions from a bedroom or private study, but from, if possible, a more public area instead. Be very careful if you're sharing your screen or any links to other websites. There have been some mistakes, seemingly innocent mistakes, but could have had very bad consequences of tutors who mistakenly share things which they shouldn't have shared on their screen. Perhaps they mistakenly shared their entire screen rather than a particular window, and there was something open on that screen that they really should not have been sharing with children. Be careful is the key rule here. And whether it's in person or online, always dress and act professionally. So dress as if you were going to teach at a school, in a classroom, and under no circumstances capture students' image. So no screen recordings and no screenshots of students if it's online, and no photos or videos if it's in person, please. In the unlikely event that you need to make physical contact with a child, just consider alternatives, explain why contact might be necessary, conduct your activities where they can be seen by others, and comforting a child in distress, putting a hand on their shoulder is the furthest you should go. Of course, this only counts where you're doing in-person tuition, which is a relatively low percentage of what we do, but it can happen. The first thing you should be doing here is calling for help, because in this situation, there will almost always be a member of staff, either a school member of staff or one of our own member of staff that can come and help you. Communication in social media is one that sometimes takes people by surprise. It's advised you should not connect with a student via phone, so on WhatsApp, for example, or social media, including LinkedIn, including Instagram, including Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and all other forms of social media. Please refrain from connecting with students. Include us and a parent or guardian where possible in email communication. And on your behalf, if you've got accounts on these different social media sites, please be mindful that there may be parents or students searching for you. And if you have something that's public, then that's going to be accessible. So keep your accounts private if possible, and keep your personal life personal, and make sure that what you're putting out there is appropriate for the role that you're undertaking. So to summarize, safeguarding, which is both the protection from harm and the promotion of welfare, is your duty, and it's all of our duty. Stay vigilant, always report a concern, however small, ensure to familiarize yourself with our policy, and contact us if you have any questions. Aside from our policy, which also has lots of recommendations on there, have a look at Working Together to Safeguard Children 2023. Have a look at the NSPCC's website, including their YouTube channel, where there's lots of useful videos, and their podcast. And there's one episode which is particularly geared towards tutors. And it's also worth knowing, if you're interested in upskilling yourself further on safeguarding, some local educational authorities and institutions offer free training, like the Essex Social Care Academy, for example, has a free level 1 safeguarding course, and there's lots of other institutions that offer cheap, maybe 20 or 30 pounds, more accredited, slightly higher, more advanced courses as well for you to go through and learn more about it. So that's it. It's the essentials of safeguarding. And thank you very much for listening. And please let us know if you have any questions.